Two people are randomly selected from various backgrounds, forced into a game and made to kill each other. There is no choice. They are given 24 hours to eliminate their opponent or die. Whoever manages to win and kill their opponent has the chance to leave the game, bypassing all ethical, legal, and regulatory boundaries. These brutal scenes are streamed online and can be watched by everyone on their gadgets, making the Schism site go viral with the largest views in the world. Miles is an ordinary guy working at a children's game company as a programmer. He's a loner, not very social, rarely attends gatherings, and is somewhat of a coward. But behind his keyboard, Miles is a brave, fierce, and tough hero. He feels like a champion when he's in front of his keyboard. Daily, he spends his time surfing the web, trolling and berating internet troublemakers. Especially when he's slightly tipsy, his mind becomes sharper and more brilliant. He never runs out of ideas to battle with people and things he dislikes in the comment sections. Miles thoroughly enjoys this hobby of his, even often doing it at work. This habit got him reprimanded by his boss, who is quite a jerk, annoying and often delays paying his employees. One day, while surfing the web, Miles stumbled upon the Schism site as it was trending and going viral. He began his usual routine of commenting, attacking, debating, and flaming people. In the real world, he couldn't even hurt a fly. But online, behind his keyboard, Miles was as tough as a Terminator. This caught the attention of Schism's admin, who ordered Miles to back off and threatened to break his little hands. But Miles, who was already engrossed and enjoying himself, refused to stop. Until he was startled and shut down his laptop because the Schism admin had tracked his IP address. Feeling anxious and a bit panicked, Miles received a message from his ex-girlfriend named Nova. Nova wanted to meet because Miles had accidentally liked one of her photos on social media. Miles, who still loved Nova and hadn't moved on, welcomed the invitation happily. They arranged to meet at the park the next day. Although he fell asleep imagining a beautiful day with his ex, Nova, and even fantasized about kissing her. Nova loves writing and drawing. She wants to create a comic but hasn't found the right superhero character for it. Suddenly, Miles woke up to the sound of someone banging on his apartment door. Through the peephole, Miles saw several unknown thugs outside. Without any manners, they broke down the door and forced their way in. It turns out that the person was the CEO of Schism named Richter. He is a former convict, with prison being like a second home to him, along with his 3 henchmen named Dane, Effie, and Fuckface. They destroyed Miles' laptop. Realizing his mistake, Miles tried to make peace regarding his comments on Schism. But of course, these wild people ignored him. They intimidated Miles and gave him several punches before drugging him. When he regained consciousness, Miles found his hands drilled and 2 guns bolted to his hands with 50 rounds of ammunition each. Miles, who has breathing issues, grew more panicked and terrified upon receiving a welcome message from Schism. His opponent was Nix, and within 24 hours, Miles had to kill Nix or die. Trying to escape would also mean death, but if he succeeded, Miles would have the chance to join and continue the game. Nix also received a message informing her that this would be her last job before she could be free from Schism. Nix, a woman with a penchant for road raging and above-average combat skills, had killed 16 people and destroyed a drug factory alone, making her the most dangerous Schism fighter in the world. Nix then disguised herself as a police officer and tracked down Miles's phone. She was momentarily shocked to find out that her opponent was an ordinary person, with no criminal record at all. It didn't take long for Nix to find Miles's apartment and attempt to kill him there. Panicked, Miles tried to negotiate a truce with Nix and explain what had actually happened to him. But of course, Nix considered it nonsense and continued to attack Miles. Luckily, Miles managed to escape. He ran into the streets while trying to hide the guns in his hands. Upon seeing 2 policemen on duty, Miles tried to ask for help, but the police instead pointed their guns at Miles and chased him because he looked very dangerous with 2 guns in his hands. While being chased by the police, Miles accidentally shot one of the officers. The viewers laughed and mocked him, watching the newcomer's actions through the Schism drone that was focused on him. Remembering his date with his ex-girlfriend Nova the previous night, Miles went to the park to meet her. When Miles tried to explain what happened, Nova panicked and sprayed pepper spray into Miles's eyes before running away. Seeing the 2 guns in Miles's hands, Nova was scared and fled. Miles ran and hid in an alley. He intended to commit suicide by blowing his head off. However, he changed his mind when a homeless man named Glenjamin reminded him that if he did it that way, he wouldn't die. It would just ruin his face. Glenjamin gave Miles a hot dog and advised him with some wise words before Miles left, trying to find help. Meanwhile, Nova was at the police station, talking to Detective DeGraves. Nova explained that Miles was a good person and that something must be wrong. He was in trouble. Unbeknownst to Nova, her phone was hacked to track Miles' whereabouts, although the detective's real target was Nix. People began to recognize Miles from the Schism site. Miles went to his office to ask his colleague Hadley for help in removing the tracker planted by Schism on his phone. At that moment, Miles's boss arrived and insulted him. Miles, fed up with his boss always belittling him, lost his patience. He cursed his boss and threatened to blow his head off, demanding him to stop being a jerk. As things began to calm down, suddenly Nix appeared and shot Miles's boss in the head. Chaos ensued, and Miles managed to escape by hijacking a car. Nix chased him on a motorcycle to an abandoned building. Miles tried to negotiate with Nix, but Nix brutally kept shooting at him, attempting to kill him. Miles, who wasn't used to handling guns, struggled to aim accurately. During their shootout, a large explosion occurred, triggering Nix's severe PTSD from a past trauma. Miles then left her behind. He contacted Nova via video call, trying once again to explain what was happening. But Richter and his henchmen were already there, kidnapping Nova and threatening to mutilate her if Miles didn't kill Nix within 5 hours. In this difficult situation, Miles racked his brain for a solution. Feeling increasingly panicked and confused, Miles decided to call emergency services and report his and Nix's whereabouts to the police, who had been after him all this time. Miles thought this was far better than having to kill Nix with his own hands. While walking, Miles accidentally stumbled upon 2 high-level mafia groups conducting a drug transaction. His sudden appearance with 2 guns in his hands startled them and caused misunderstandings between the groups. Tensions began to rise. Suddenly, Nix arrived with her automatic weapon, raining bullets down and creating chaos. In the mayhem, Miles accidentally shot one of the mafia leaders in the neck, killing him. This was extremely chaotic because it was real, not the usual game he played. There were no retries or extra lives. Shortly after, the police surrounded and arrested Miles. He was taken by DeGraves and Stanton. Miles thought they would take him to the hospital, but instead he was driven around. DeGraves explained that they needed him to find Nix. DeGraves revealed that he had previously imprisoned Richter, who is now the boss of Schism. Richter used to be a gang leader, but when he was paroled, Richter held a grudge. He targeted DeGraves' family, planting a bomb and blowing up their car. DeGraves' wife and son were killed in the explosion. He managed to save his daughter, who turned out to be Nix. Nix grew up wild and increasingly deranged, especially after Nix got trapped. And surprisingly, Stanton suddenly shot DeGraves in the head and showed Miles a video from Richter, stating that he had half an hour to kill Nix or his ex-girlfriend Nova would be chopped up. Richter reminded Miles once again not to mess around because there was no way out of Schism except by killing his opponent. Even though he was released to continue the hunt, unexpectedly, Richter also had people inside the police department. Miles went to a cafe and asked a woman there to hack Nova's phone and track her location. The woman was very excited to learn that Miles was one of the Schism players who was going viral and currently being idolized by viewers worldwide. While taking a selfie, the woman told Miles that he was very famous now and had become a new idol with the nickname Guns Akimbo. Miles rushed to the location and found Richter and his 3 henchmen. Richter shot a hostage who seemed to be Nova, Miles's ex-girlfriend. Miles was shocked but felt somewhat relieved when he removed the head cover of the corpse and found that it was Hadley, Miles's co-worker. Miles reactivated the tracker on his phone and went to an open area so that Nix could find him quickly. After exchanging a few words, Nix shot Miles dead. Next, the Schism cleanup crew took Miles's body to the Schism headquarters. The viewers were very disappointed with Miles's death. Upon arrival at the Schism headquarters, Miles suddenly woke up and shot 2 of the Schism crew members. Shortly after, Nix arrived to meet him. It turned out that they had planned to deceive Schism and locate its headquarters. Miles wore a bulletproof vest when Nix shot him and pretended to be dead. However, Nix wasn't fully convinced until Miles explained that he had met DeGraves, Nix's father, the police officer who told him about what Richter had done to his family. Miles also showed DeGraves' body to Nix to convince her. They then agreed to work together to destroy Schism. Nix and Miles's cameras also informed Richter and all the viewers worldwide that they were still alive and would end Schism. Nix told everyone that they were very cruel for supporting and watching Schism. Most viewers thought that Schism was just entertainment that didn't really happen in the real world. Nix and Miles then started to attack and eliminate Richter's henchmen one by one. It seemed that Miles was now becoming proficient with weapons. From the Schism computer devices, Nix mocked the viewers. But of course, it made them even more excited, because most viewers thought it was just a game. From there, Miles also discovered that Richter had developed Schism into a global franchise with enormous profits worldwide. As Miles and Nix got closer, Richter sent Dane and Effie to eliminate them. Dane and Effie were tough bodyguards with above-average fighting and killing abilities, making it difficult for Nix and Miles to defeat them. Miles, cornered and nearly killed, managed to take out Effie by shooting her in the head, while Nix got badly beaten by Dane. When Dane was about to decapitate Nix with his axe, Nix spotted her drug on the floor. Not wasting any time, Nix inhaled it and gained new strength. She easily beat up Dane and crushed his balls. Dane, now powerless, threatened to blow up the gas in the place, knowing that Nix had a trauma related to explosions. At that moment, Miles arrived, accidentally shot the gas and exploded, and Richter, feeling cornered, took Nova hostage and left using a helicopter. Meanwhile, Nix and Miles, with their dwindling ammunition, found it very difficult to get past the remaining henchmen of Richter, who were numerous. Despite Miles's attempt to stop her, Nix decided to sacrifice herself by blowing up to kill everyone and destroy the Schism equipment. Before that, she asked Miles to promise to kill Richter for her. As the situation grew increasingly chaotic, Stanton, Richter's mole in the police department, intended to leave, realizing that the place would soon be surrounded by police. However, Richter shot him after they had a brief argument. Miles chased after Richter and found him on top of a building through a trail of messages left by Nova. Miles fired his last bullet at Richter, who was holding Nova hostage, but since Miles wasn't very skilled, his shot missed widely. Richter shot Miles, but he got back up and kept moving closer. Taking advantage of the situation, Nova managed to free herself and pushed Richter down. Then Miles brutally beat up Richter, landing several deadly punches before finally throwing Richter off after saying some last words as a farewell. Miles then shoved Nix's severed finger into Richter's mouth and dropped him, killing him completely. The audience cheered wildly for Miles. Nova approached Miles, who looked dying, and gave him a passionate kiss, but once again, it was just Miles's hallucination, possibly due to blood loss. In reality, Nova felt horrified seeing so much blood and witnessing her ex brutally killing someone. The next day, although Nova and Miles didn't get back together, Nova published a comic book titled Guns Akimbo, and the superhero character was Miles. Subsequently, Miles tracked down all Schism activities worldwide and made it his mission to eliminate Schism globally. The movie ends. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, because by subscribing you have supported me to make better videos. See you in the next video.